Welcome back. Graham Smith here from ALEC, discussing what you need to do to wrap up your professional development for the NCALNE Vocational. So a bit of a quick review and then talking about the presentations, which is really the final course requirement. So make sure you've got your study guide and your assessment guide handy for further information. So once again, here's our training in this qualification. This is the NCALNE Voc in a nutshell. And this is a slide that we've referred to many times through the training, and you can see that we've tracked through all the 7 content areas required by the qualification. And these 7 key knowledge and skill areas form the baseline knowledge and skills that we expect tutors to have if they're embedding literacy and numeracy at levels 1 to 3 in trades and vocational training. So I know you know it, but just to summarise for anyone that doesn't, we've got the New Zealand context, we've got principles of good teaching and learning, and in our case drawn from the world of Māori education. We've got mapping literacy and numeracy course demands using the learning progressions, diagnostic assessment, planning and delivering embedded literacy and numeracy training, assessing your learners' progress, and the last stage, evaluation. So just a quick reminder, embedded literacy and numeracy is not literacy and numeracy for everything. However, it is all of the things here on the slide. It's narrow and highly specific in its focus on your particular trade or area of vocational training. And it's based on identified literacy and numeracy demands and skills. It's aimed at delivering a dual set of outcomes, so 2 sets of outcomes here, one related to your content area, another related to literacy and numeracy demands and meeting those demands. So it's the systematic delivery of explicit and contextualized literacy and numeracy. And of course in New Zealand this is underpinned by the learning progressions for adult literacy and numeracy. You might remember seeing this slide as well at the beginning. Here's what this course has done to you, or is still in the process of doing to you. It's a lot of shift. A lot of shift has to happen in order for you to really move your professional practice. So you're now equipped to start getting serious about an explicit and deliberate approach to embedding literacy and numeracy into your training. This is another way of thinking about it. This is what good teachers do. Good teachers bridge the gap between the training demands, what your students ought to be able to do, and your learners' skills, in other words, what they can actually do. This is just another way of thinking about it, bringing together the specific literacy and numeracy that your content and context needs. And as you bring these 2 things together, you increase the embedded literacy and numeracy. You increase the contextualized and embedded component of your course. So we're all about evaluating effectiveness now. That's what we're here for, and it's the purpose of your presentation. It's good practice to evaluate what you've done and what you've done for us in this project work. So I think good trainers and tutors actually evaluate what we do all the time. You do this probably on a daily basis, but we're doing it a bit more formally here, and it's a great opportunity to share what you've learned with others. So sometimes this kind of organizational learning is some of the best learning that you can do. Here's a quote that I stole from somewhere. I don't think I made it up, I wish I did, but this is how I think of evaluation. Evaluation applies the lessons of experience to decisions about current and future programs. So it's kind of looking back and looking forwards. And you won't get it right every time, but you won't improve for next time unless you can step back from what you've done and have a serious look at it. So be reflective and critical, but in a constructive and positive way. Right, so make sure your presentation includes the highlights of your embedded literacy and numeracy project work, and include these things: how you used your diagnostic processes, how you planned and delivered embedded literacy and numeracy in your course and training, how you assessed your learners' literacy and numeracy progress, and how you evaluated your work. We're really after the highlights and a summary of those 4 things. So you need to reflect critically on these different aspects of your project work and try and answer questions like these. What did you do? How did you do it? What improvements could you make? How effective were your literacy and numeracy activities, your strategies, your resources, your assessments? And we'll be looking for common threads and key points from your presentations, and where we can, we'll feed that kind of information back to you and others in your group if you're part of one of our group training sessions. We also really want to know what the next step is for your learners with regards to literacy and numeracy, and also for you. What's the next step for you? What do you need to do next? What kind of professional development or support do you need from here? You can also talk about your organisation. What's the next step for your organisation? We always like to give a plug for ALPA. Now, this is not the Airline Pilots Association, but it's the Adult Literacy Practitioners Association. They have a conference that you can attend and present at if you're keen enough. It's just a good organisation to belong to and good for your professional practice as well. Make sure you also keep tabs on this website. This is the main website that the TEC use to disseminate information around literacy and numeracy. This is the website of the National Centre for Literacy and Numeracy for Adults, and lots of great information on here. It's a great place to get resources from, including the online version of the learning progressions. Big long website name, literacyandnumeracyforadults.com. Don't forget to check in regularly at our website, alec.ac.nz, and you're welcome to keep using the website, keep using the resources, which will hopefully continue to grow and develop. A couple of things that you need to still do for us. There's a final self-assessment that we need you to do as a participant in this training course, and you'll remember that from perhaps the first lot of training that you did. Your self-assessment helps us to see if you've moved, if you've shifted in terms of your professional practice. There's also a course evaluation to complete, and that's to help us see if we can improve this training in any way. Lastly, a couple of other ways of thinking about the processes that you've learned, and this should be burned into your brain now, and we've used our infographic with the circle on it, with the arc on it, but this is another way of looking at those same components. And if you look on the screen now, you can see you've got to understand the issues in context before you can do all of these things in the center. And these things in the center, this is the embedded approach. Assess the needs, design the kind of skills development you want to see, deliver the outcomes, assess the gains, and then evaluate the effectiveness. So that big chunk in the middle, that's what you did for your project work. This is just another way of thinking about it visually. You won't be able to see all the detail on the screen here, but we also have a giant poster of this, and it works in terms of the 3 knowings that the TEC talk about. It also works in terms of those 7 areas that we have used to construct this course. So this is a great visual reminder, and you can get a copy of this poster from us or through our friends at literacyandnumeracypro.com. Right, you actually have to go and do this stuff. Knowing what to do and how to do it isn't actually enough unless you apply what you've learned. So that's what we're all about. We want you to go and apply this. And just a quote to finish off, what we call a beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. And the end is where we start from. So you're coming to the end of this training, but really it's just the beginning of what you need to do next to embed literacy and numeracy into your training. Alright, so thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for being part of the NCALNE Vocational with Alec. And if you've got questions, if you need to know anything further, if you want to talk to us about any of the assessment tasks, or you just want to drop us a line, please do. Happy to take a phone call, field an email. You can even text us. Love to hear from you. Kia ora. Thanks very much.